Let's talk about America and freedom. Right. So, I was just thinking about how I want to celebrate the 4th, all those freedoms we have. I was starting to think about, well, as I pay just a huge, massive amount of money for absolutely everything because of, because we have, fiat currency printed out of thin air by a foreign bank that controls our country, and because there's government taxes absolutely everything hundreds and hundreds of times before it even gets to us. Yeah. Like if you say, for instance, if you buy a can of soup or something, right? Well, let's say that the soup had tomatoes, onions, potatoes, say chicken, whatever. Let's just leave it at that, right? Well, everyone involved in that. You got the canners, you got the printers, and every one of them is getting taxed. And they're going to pass that tax on to us. So, when you're having your breakfast that morning, you should start out by celebrating, the freedom to have that breakfast, knowing that the guy who grew those tomatoes was charged a massive property tax and a farm tax, and he had to get the right permit and license in order to grow those tomatoes. And then, of course, he had to have a sales tax, business tax, shipping tax, transfer tax, so on and so forth, so that those tomatoes that he could have sold to you for pennies cost you a shitload of money. And then those get shipped on to the factory on the other ingredients. Same thing with the onion farmer, the potato farmer. Pretty much everyone along the way. Just getting taxed to the point where they can't make any money if they don't charge you a huge, massive fee. Well, eventually it gets to the counter, and of course they get taxed. I'm sure there's a tax on the aluminum, tax on the machinery, a tax on the business license, a tax on the land, a tax on the building that the land is sitting on, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, sales tax, property tax, all these sort of things. You got to have a tax for the paper. Whoever makes the paper has to be taxed. So, and, fees, licensing, of course, you got to have all that because the government keeps us safe. So, they're protecting our freedom, you see. And then, eventually, when it makes it to the grocery store, the shipping, well, you wouldn't be shipping that from one place to another with you. Well, that'll have to be taxed. Of course, there's going to be fees, and you're going to need the proper licensing and fees to do that. So, that'll be taxed. But that's okay, because they can just pass all that cost on to the consumer. No wonder why your housing is so expensive. Yeah. Well, hey, if you start to think about it along these lines, you'll realize why that is. Because the government's protecting you, you see. They're protecting your freedom and safety. Keeping us safe. After all, isn't that what we're celebrating now? Right. So, So yeah, on the 4th of July, I was thinking about that as I was eating this stir fry that I made. Thinking about how the peanuts are taxed, and the chicken is taxed, and the noodles are taxed, and the plastic is taxed, and the bowl that I ate the food out of was taxed, and the fork that I used to scoop the food into my mouth was taxed. And I got to have the privilege of paying extra money for every single item and every single ingredient and everything that I eat because of taxes and other various forms of, I don't know, what's another word for theft? Oh, tax, right. Anyways, so let's enjoy our 4th of July. Celebrate our wonderful freedom here. I'm wondering about something. I'm trying to think where. I've found out that over the last few days, they've started allowing people to buy fireworks. Don't you love how the word freedom and the government allowing you to do things just kind of goes together? It really just fits together. It's like a puzzle. You put the pieces together. And really, guys, we wouldn't have freedom without government. Because after all, that's freedom. It's the people that steal all our money in order to hire thugs to point guns at us if we don't pay them the money that they're extorting from us. Who tell us what to do, what to think, what to wear, where to go, where to be, so on and so forth. That's freedom, guys. And I for one am willing to die for that freedom. Are you? That is freedom, guys. So I was thinking, how should I celebrate that freedom on this 4th of July? So I was thinking, now that the government is going to allow me to buy some fireworks, now, you see, I have another problem. I'm wondering, where will they allow me to set off fireworks? I'm not allowed to have good fireworks, but there might be some snakes and sparklers, possibly some little fountains that I'm allowed to have. But the problem is, where will I be allowed to set them off? Really, guys, these are the kind of questions that come to mind when you have, freedom like we do here. And I'm thinking, it's a good thing that I have a license to drive, and I'm insured, and I have the necessary tags and permits to be able to travel, because otherwise I wouldn't even be able to get to a place where I might be allowed to light off these fireworks, because then I wouldn't be able to celebrate these great freedoms that we have. You know what I mean? And that would just be terrible. God bless America. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Real freedom, man. Really, guys. We have a sort of a freedom that people just really don't appreciate, the level of freedom that we have. That's the thing. I think everyone should probably join the military. If you really want to know freedom, You should join the military, and it'll send you to foreign lands to kill people, guys. And then when you get back, there's like fireworks and shit. I mean, that's freedom, guys. They might give you like minimum wage. I mean, you might end up living under a bridge or something, but you know, hey man, there's fireworks, dude. And you're a hero. So, I mean, murdering for like minimum wage and kill, like, yeah, man, come on, celebrate heroism, freedom, yeah, cool. All right, well, tell everybody to be safe this 4th of July. I want y'all to have lots of fun and never forget what our founding fathers and our ancestors fought and died for. Oh, right. They did. Oh, no, they did actually. But, like, I was just wondering, like, do you think it looked like this, though? Just saying. I mean, did it? I mean, you know, we fucking lost the War of 1812, right? And I got a quote. What was that quote from like Thomas Jefferson or something? Like, if we ever allow the issuance of currency in the hands of a private bank, first by inflation, then by deflation, our children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Something like that, right? What was that Lincoln quote? Like, Abraham Lincoln, I tremble in fear for the safety of my country. The wars and corporations have become enthroned and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, I don't have the quote in front of me just off the top of my head. You know? What was that, John Kennedy? There was this other guy that used to be in the country. I believe his name was John F. Kennedy. I remember him saying something about what was it? A vast conspiracy. Secret powers and stuff. A lot of stuff there that he said. It's like, like, what was it? Eisenhower gave a speech too. Check out Eisenhower's farewell speech. That's weird, isn't it? Huh. The vast and ruthless conspiracy, right? And then, God, I wonder why they, and, he tried to give the power of the dollar, John F. Kennedy, that is, he actually tried to, put the power of the dollar back in the hands of the fucking U.S. Treasury. Can you believe that? I mean, that's weird. I mean, it was trying to stop Vietnam, but wow, we can't have that happen. I mean, that would not be good for freedom that we have, right? I mean, yeah, Eisenhower gave a speech about the military-industrial complex. That's interesting. Yeah, he did. Ever hear of Major Smedley Butler? You might want to look that up. He wrote a book. It's interesting. You ever hear of the McCormick-Dickstein Committee? I bet you heard of McCarthyism. Did you ever look into what McCarthy found when he was looking into things? Fucking McCarthyism. Don't you think it's weird how George Patton just like happened to die, and then McCarthy, and so on and so forth, and kind of around the same period of time. And they're kind of saying some of the same sort of about what's going on in the country back then, Huh. It's odd. Well, guys, yay, freedom. All right, then.